The genre of the poem I used in annotating is narrative poetry. Okay, we already know that a narrative poetry is a type of poetry that tells a tale via the voices of a narrator and characters, and is usually written in metered verse. Rhyme isn't required for narrative poems. The poems in this genre can be brief or long. The title of the narrative poetry I used in annotating is The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. It was written in 1915 as a joke for Frost's friend Edward Thomas. Frost and Thomas were fond of hiking together, and Thomas often had trouble making up his mind which trail they should follow. Here is the poem. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler. Long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Here is my annotated poem of The Road Not Taken. In The Road Not Taken, Robert Frost uses punctuation throughout his poem to create rhythm and meaning. In lines 2 to 3 of The Road Not Taken, enjambment is used. So look at the second and third line. And sorry I could not travel both, or and be one traveler. This use and the use of enjambment here helps depict the thoughts racing in the traveler's mind as he tries to pick which road to take. This run on line which makes the poem flow more easily as it forces the reader to move onto the next line and continue momentum as opposed to stopping at the end of each line. It also emphasizes the part of the thought has been carried over to the next line. A semicolon is also used in the last line of the first stanza, which took place in the line to where bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair. This semicolon is used similarly to show to how a comma is used. It lengthens the sentence, although it also provides a contrast of images. Punctuation can create a meaning by setting the tone. The first stanza in the line 2 and be one traveler, long I stood, contains a comma in the middle of the line, and be one traveler, long I stood. This is an example of caesura, which slows the rhythm of the poem to show feelings of tension or indecision. This line demonstrates the hesitation of the traveler as he makes a difficult choice. The tone of Robert Frost's poem is sad. The poem depicts a man forced to make one of the biggest decisions of his life through the use of allegory and ironic tone. In the poem, the speaker must choose between two pathways, but once forced to make a decision, he claims being sorry because he could not travel both and be one traveler long he stood. Have you seen the two highlighted lines with yellow highlighter? In these two lines, Frost used imagery to convey indecisiveness. There are two possible paths, and the narrator cannot decide between them. The mood of the poem, The Road Not Taken, is a feeling of anticipation because the traveler have to choose which road to take. The author manipulates the first stanza of the poem through the use of the first two lines of the stanza. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, which set the feeling of anticipation in the entire poem. Frost also used irony in stanza 1 and 2. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, to give the two roads a significant double meaning, as the roads that the narrator travel are not just found within the forest but also implies in the making of choices in life. Let's move on to the second stanza. So, have you observed? End rhyme are a rhyme that occurs at the end of two or more lines of poetry. End rhyme in this stanza are fair, claim, where, there, and same. The Road Not Taken is a 20-line poem made up of 4 quatrain or 5-line stanzas. Or a stanza contains 5 lines. Okay. Next stanza or the third stanza. Charred in black means neither of the roads are less traveled by. The rhyme scheme is in the format of AB, AAB, CD, CD, EF, EEF, GH, GGH. This means that the first line of the stanza rhymes with the third and the fourth line, while the second line rhymes with the fifth line. Just like lay, black, day, way, back. The poem is about the speaker arriving at a fork in the road where both paths are carpeted with leaves. The persona, who is believed to be Frost himself, chooses to take the road less traveled by. The main theme of the poem, The Road Not Taken, is that human beings are confronted with and defined by the choices they make. The author conveyed the main idea of the poem through the speaker, who was confronted with this fork in the road and must make a choice as to which road to take. The speaker can only choose one path and must abide by that choice. The main theme of the poem tells us that human beings are defined by the choices they face and the choices they make. While we might wish to avoid these choices, the speaker, and the poet for that matter, tells us that we are unable to avoid the agonizing element of choice. There can be little to alleviate this burden from us. We face the fork in the road and must choose. And stopping can also slow down the rhythm of a poem, and is evident in stanza 3 in the third line with, "Oh, I kept the first for another day." This end stop indicates the end of a thought. And for the last stanza of The Road Not Taken, the roads here is the metaphor of life. The metaphor of the divergent paths are the choices we must make along the way. These figurative language convey the real meaning of the poem, which set the mood of the entire poem. In the last two lines of the last stanza, the poem symbolizes the journey of life and the decisions we make in that journey. It says that we must carefully take decision as there is no looking back after we have chosen one way. We have to move ahead in that way. So that is my annotated poem in the genre of narrative poetry.